and welcome to Almost 30 Podcast.
Hi, everybody. It's Lindsay and Krista. We're together in LA in your new home, and I'm so happy to be here.
It's quite the experience.
I think it's great.
People keep knocking on my door. Contractors are here every day of my life.
Yeah, having a home is it's a vibe.
As a woman, I take out the trash once a week and I am like, I need a man. No, honestly, I broke down boxes the other day and I made it a rage ritual.
Oh yeah, dude.
I was like, I'm going to rip apart and break down all these boxes and make it part of my healing.
There's so many rules when you live, whether it's in a neighborhood or whatever. I'm sure the trash people have a 10 list rule.
They're not
do
taking
this,
them.
can't do that.
Yeah, no.
In a building, you're like, sorry, I put an old floor lamp in there for you.
100%.
Have fun.
I'm like, let me dump shards of glass into this trash. And this one, it's it has to be perfectly primmed and primed. And I just I've had people looking into my house a lot.
Uh-huh.
It's weird. That's why I'm getting all my curtains.
Yeah.
But I had someone filming outside my house the other day. I don't know what it is. I'm going to get a gun.
Yeah.
I saw two people filming in my house. I'm like, I'm buying guns.
You just need signs on your lawn that says, I love guns and I've got a ring.
Yeah, that's so true. I actually am buying, hopefully none of the robbers that know where I live hear this, but I'm going to buy fake cameras to put around my place.
Yeah.
Because I don't want a ring. I have so many friends that have a ring and they're addicted to watching their ring. And it causes them distress.
Yeah.
Where they're like, oh, package is at the door. Oh, raccoon
I don't like
crossed.
the notification. It's why?
Same. I don't want to know if there's someone pacing in front of my house.
100%.
There's one of my couple friends, Kaylee and Danielle, my favorite people, but every time I'm with them, wing is popping.
I don't understand people who have notifications popping up all day. That's my mom. My mom, notifications all day, every day from apps she doesn't use.
It's like Candy Crush.
There's a new Bible verse available.
it's like Candy Crush, new level unlocked.
I'm like, yo, your nervous system, you don't realize.
Actually, I wonder what my notifications are. Erewhon. It's like Erewhon delivery.
Okay.
A Course in Miracles. I have a Course in Miracles app.
Perfect.
Open Table, Facetune. Duh.
They've got a new filter.
Yeah, they're like, keep up the good work, lady. Equinox activations. I love activations.
Uh-huh.
The Real and ClassPass. Yeah, a lot of these need to go. I'm trying to sell my old. Dude, did I tell you? This is crazy. So you guys know the Real, which is an app that you can resell your clothes. So last year I sold a lot of my clothes to, or I gave a lot of clothes to ThredUp. I gave a lot of clothes to friends, and then nice clothes I had Real come over.
Mm-hmm.
They got 70 things from Real. I know, this is crazy. So in high school, I bought a Chanel bag on eBay.
Okay.
$500 of money I made serving at that time. And I was like, I need to invest this in Chanel. I thought it was fake, to be honest, my whole life. I was like, oh, it's fake, whatever. Now they're selling it on Real for $2,800.
No
Isn't that insane? It's real. I had a Chloe bag. I bought a Chloe bag on eBay in high school too, and I thought it was fake. Yes. Marc Jacobs Stan bag. I didn't buy, they were saying they were real on eBay, but I assumed they were fake. I was like, it's probably fake. But no, I'm like, the Marc Jacobs bag's like $22,000. The other bag, the Chloe bag.
I was like, 22,000, you should quit your job.
Yeah, literally. I was like, it's actually a Birkin crocodile. It's actually Khloe Kardashian's. They stole it from her house. Isn't that funny though? I thought they were fake.
That's crazy.
I know.
Damn.
But they're still listed, so hopefully I'll cash that check soon.
Okay, so when it sells, you get,
when it sells.
That makes sense.
Well, my Louboutins, honey, that I spent my entire one paycheck on when I was in my 20s in Chicago, I made $75. I wore them twice. They were too small for my feet, yeah.
So they only paid you $70. That's crazy.
It was crazy.
They make what, 70% or 50%?
Yeah, 70% or something. Crazy? At the time, they were $700 shoes, which was a different game.
Yeah.
And I remember I wore them to go visit my ex at the time and was like, he's going to lose his mind when he sees these red bottoms on me. Didn't notice, didn't care.
Of course not. What do you mean?
Was like, why?
Are Louboutins still cool?
No.
Maybe in the Midwest or somewhere that's not.
It was a thing. I remember one of my friends had 12 pairs of Louboutins in her closet, and it was such a vibe. It was whoa. And then she had the Celine's. Wow. Yeah. That was her journey.
Damn.
Chicago was actually designer
Huh.
Very designer focused, very like label focused.
Okay.
Pretty good fashion in Chicago, actually.
Huh.
Because it's kind of cold.
It's either like Lululemon or
100%.
high fashion. Okay.
Because it's cold. There's a good street style in the city.
Okay.
Like,
I haven't seen it.
dude, I know.
I believe
in
you.
the city, maybe I'm insane.
I believe
Maybe
you.
I have no
You probably have
style.
fashionable friends.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I'm going to like, yeah, I don't even. I'm like, I was wearing like.
Maybe I'm focusing on the guys and I'm like, guys, this is like just mediocre here.
Well, that's a great point.
You know?
But I feel like in general, this is a great topic. In general, men's fashion has improved, I think. I think men are now more fashionable than ever. Even in a way that could be too far.
I agree with that. Why do you think that is? Because there's more brands available that are kind of like on Instagram.
Yeah.
I was talking to one of Sean's friends the other day and he's like, yeah, like our Instagram now like serves me so much of my wardrobe. It's so easy.
Yeah,
and
I think
like, I guess that's
have access to shopping for them more. I think the ads are getting smarter.
Yeah.
I think they are seeing men that are dressing better on Instagram.
Yeah, totally.
I definitely think in sports too. In sports now, it's moments. Like the athletes are very fashion focused.
Yes,
so now it's sports are making it cool for them to dress well. So they're now kind of dressing more. I think social media.
Totally.
I'm laughing. I'm laughing at myself in my head because I'm like, this will come out. I don't even know what. Yeah. I don't even know what I'm going to say. I'm going to not
soon.
I'm going to not say what I was going to say, but I'll say what I want to say later. I am so excited about this episode of Richard Rudd. So Richard Rudd is the founder of Gene Keys. He's an author. He's like a prolific shaman, mystic teacher, one of my favorite teachers and writers of all time, period, the end. I recorded with Richard, I think like 6 months ago. And I don't know if I've said this on the podcast, but this is almost 30 lore. We have had maybe 9 to 10 episodes over the years, probably from 2016 when we started. Audio messed up, video messed up. We lose the files. Something gets corrupt. And almost all of them have been men. I think all of them have been when we've recorded with men.
Yeah, it's true.
Which is so crazy. I can think of like 4 people off the bat every time. So I recorded with Richard and I don't know what happened to the files. Like I recorded over that or something happened. And it's hard when with us, this is like inside baseball, but you record far in advance. There's 3 different files, my file, their file, like your file.
Yeah.
So, and then there's the intros, there's the outros, there's the ads. So there's a lot of different things that happen, but something happened. I don't know. So thank God I could re-record with him. And it was actually even better this time because we could talk about the prophecy that Gene Keys talks about. So a lot of the changes within culture and society and sort of the feelings that a lot of really intuitive and psychic people are having right now are very in alignment with the prophecy that he's seeing for sort of the new human that's coming onto earth, the new consciousness that's coming online, and the new paradigm that we're living in. So it's an even better episode, but I was bummed because you feel so bad and embarrassed. You're like, oh,
I know.
We're a professional business and we have to re-record.
I know. But was he a joy? I'm sure.
Joy and a delight and a pleasure.
He's like,
and honestly, the first one, it was kind of like that one time where I was with Zach Bush and we talked about octopuses for like 45 minutes on the podcast. It was like me and Richard were talking about his cats for maybe 35 minutes.
Yeah.
They were in the screen playing around and I was like, oh, what's he like? And then I was like asking about him. He's like, they're both boys. I'm like, they're crazy. And he's like, yeah, and they jump up here. And we were talking about his like cats. So it is talking about what he sees in the prophecy starting in 2025 to 2027. So all the shifts and changes that people have been feeling that we're experiencing, we talk a lot about that. We talk about AI. And we talk about the effects of AI on culture and society. He talked about Donald Trump and Donald Trump's gene keys and Elon Musk's gene keys and what they mean for them and what they mean for us as a society and a culture. We talked about codependency and how codependency is one of the things that we're really working to heal as a collective now to step into our power and how that impacts people. And so we talked about the specific gene keys for codependency. We talked about how it impacts women so much more than men and how he sees women being able to support themselves and stepping out of codependency. It just was like, this is such a good one. He's so prolific and so powerful, and he's able to be playful and funny and light. And I had the best time.
Krista and I forget when we found out we had the same gene
with
keys,
Blue.
but this happens like all the time.
We had Blue of Earth on, and she's an amazing gene key expert. and her podcast was great. And in it, we discovered that we have the same gene key. So you can have a few, but the
Yeah.
main one we have, which is 22,
Mm-hmm.
which is the best one.
It's the best one.
I have it as my phone background.
Can you
It
recite it?
says, as we have already heard, the 22nd gene key is very special. There is no getting around this statement. Written into the evolutionary script are certain anomalies and divine cosmic surprises. In this respect, there is no other gene key that rivals the 22nd. It's what makes the mythic drama of life so compelling. It's called the Akashic Ocean. It's grace, like infinite grace, which I think grace would be like a word I would use to define you, is grace. And bitch.
And bitch, baby.
Honestly.
Bitch.
And yeah, big old bitch.
Yeah, I have the thick ass book of the gene keys, and I've read about my gene keys, but it's very dense.
Very dense. I just kind of leaf through it for inspiration and kind of just to get like a good quote of the day, just tap into his consciousness. So if you guys are Gene Key fans, this is going to be a really powerful one. If you're fans of Richard, this is going to be a great one. If you're someone that's tapped in, someone that's psychic, someone that's feeling a lot of what's happening in the collective right now, this is going to be really important for you to understand what's coming as far as the prophecy that's been seen for our collective and for humanity. And I think I've been feeling pretty crazy lately. So I'm excited to listen to this again and really, really tune in.
Awesome. Thank you all for listening. We appreciate you. Not sure if you're watching on YouTube, but we have our book right here. And I just had to shout it out because right now, when you purchase our book, you get some incredible bonuses. And we're really excited to offer these to you. If you buy one copy of the book, you get a Saturn return guide, 70 pages to really help you dig in and get started. I know a lot of you are going through a lot of change, a lot of transformation, and this guide is going to support you and really get you started in understanding how Saturn is impacting your chart, whether it's right now, soon to be, or even like in the past. It's actually really helpful because it's a theme that like recurs throughout your life. And then you're also going to receive a ticket to camp, the best virtual event.
The camp lineup is crazy.
So good.
I went all out.
And then third, if you get 2 copies of the book, you're going to get those 2 bonuses plus a mini masterclass with Krista and I. We really wanted to sit down and kind of like ground what Saturn return is, sharing our personal stories, our learnings, our lessons, and really walk you through different aspects of the book that kind of helped us to like categorize and ground in this experience. So we're excited to share that with you. So you can pre-order the book now and get those bonuses. Go to almost30.com/book.
Almost30.com/book. Thank you again, Richard. Richard read of the Gene Keys. You can find the Gene Keys at genekeys.com. We were talking about the Pearl Sequence, which is a new offering he has out now. We talk more about that, and that will be in the show notes as well, so you guys can tap into that. We love you. Enjoy.
Okay, so I recently interviewed an author. His name is Jared Weiss, and I was listening to his audiobook, The Magic of Tiny Moments. It's an Audible exclusive, and it is so good. So first I wanted to recommend that and Audible. Audible is just the best place to explore over 1 million audiobooks, podcasts, and exclusive Audible originals. You'll be inspired, you will laugh, you'll feel motivated, you will get lost in a beautiful fictional novel. Like, I am just loving it. I am loving my experience on this app. It is so easy to use. It has to be easy to use. Okay. I want to open the app. I want to get recommendations. I want to be able to search really easily. I want to be able to go by category, and Audible delivers. So you can tap into your well-being with advice and insight from leading professionals and experts on better health, relationships, career, finance, investing, and more. You know, maybe you're someone you're starting the new year and you want to kick a bad habit, or maybe start a good one. Listening on Audible can help you reach those goals you set for yourself. So start listening today when you sign up for a free 30-day trial at audible.com/almost30. That's audible.com/almost30. Enjoy. Okay, I think my number one supplement forever and always is going to be magnesium. I have just experienced such a difference in my sleep, in my ability to recover. Sometimes I get restless leg at night. This has helped tremendously. Also, it's incredible for hormone balancing. So if you've never experienced magnesium, you got to try. And you have to take the Advanced Magnesium Plus by JS Health Vitamins. It's one of the highest quality magnesium supplements on the market. And I really feel this one. It contains 3 different forms of bioavailable magnesium. So it's magnesium glycinate, dihydrate, magnesium citrate, and magnesium amino acid chalate. And it's a therapeutic dose. So it's potent. It's carefully designed to support muscle relaxation and recovery, energy production, and nervous system function. And it's officially Clean Label Project certified. I love JS Health. Their supplements are so good, so pure, so potent. And Jess Supple, the founder, has been on the podcast a bunch of times. And I just feel like she is dedicated to making sure her products are effective, safe, and clean. So I just feel really good recommending them to you. All of their supplements are amazing, but I just wanted to shout out that Advanced Magnesium Plus. It is phenomenal. Go to jshealthvitamins.com/A30. That's jshealthvitamins.com/A30. And you can use the code almost30 to take 20% off your first order or first subscription order. So that's 20% off your first order or first subscription order with code almost30. You can go to jshealthvitamins.com/A30.
You know what's funny is I actually just wrote down, because it's fun when I get to sit with people, I get to like be in their field for a while before and a while after. So it was so just the best to be in your field this morning, and just I was like laughing and just having such a pleasant time.
Yeah.
And AI was something I wanted to talk about. So we can even just kind of roll into it. There's a lot of things I want to talk about with the new things that you're doing. I want to talk about the 2025 to 2027. I want to talk about the future human, the solar plexus. Like there's a lot of things that, we'll be able to dig into. But AI was something that I was really curious to talk to you about, just because it's something that I think people approach with a lot of fear and a lot of curiosity and a lot of unknown. And I think you're such a voice for helping us to bridge to the future and helping us to really see the opportunities and where we're going, and also the shadows, of course. So how do you view, from your perspective, AI?
Well, it's one of those subjects that if you approach it kind of holistically and really do your research, which is what we've tried to do, myself and my team, it has a lot of nuance in it. And so it's not just a simple, like, isn't it wonderful, it's going to save the planet? It's like it has 2 sides, as you said. It's got the side that is incredible and is going to help us advance in lots of different really amazing areas, from medicine to technology, all kinds of technologies, and hopefully technologies that are very positive and for the planet and for us communicating. But then also the other side of it is it uses a huge amount of energy. And so it's actually in some respect contributing to global warming and climate change. And that's the side of it that the people who are really into it don't like being reminded of. And so you sort of have to take a view, I think, and do your research. So we are looking at sort of ways of using it in Gene Keys that that try not to utilize the kind of energy expense side of it. So, for example, lots of people, some people approached us and said, "Can we AI the Gene Keys?" Right? And I said, so that was like a couple of years ago, and we said, "Well, what do you mean by that?" And because what we didn't really want to do is have all the Gene Keys words and things that I've written over the time sort of cobbled together by an AI. Because I don't know that as an author or a speaker, I want to kind of retain the integrity of how things emerge according to my poetic nature. Now, other people are different. They love having, combining and stuff. But I think I didn't want to sort of change the poetry and the frequency that was built out of certain ways in which words are used, or I use words personally. And so there was that side of it. But what you can do is and this is, I think, what we are going to be building this year, is you can build an interface that doesn't have to kind of trawl the whole internet, which is where the energy is used up, but actually just trawls or kind of uses your own realm, and then just helps you and guides you. So that's what I'd like to do with it, is to help people find things more quickly that are more appropriate to them and what they want and what they need. And so from that point of view, it can be amazing, I think. And it doesn't use a massive amount of energy doing that. But there, you have to take a view, I think, and and people say all kinds of things, and I think I've always said, Krista, that technology, we're the technology, we are. And it's very easy to get focused on like savior technology that's going to kind of help save us, and get incredibly focused on it. It will probably, I mean, I've said this, right? It will probably create more division on our planet because it's in the hands of, people, many people who probably aren't thinking like we're thinking, and they're not bothered about the ethics of it, and then that's immaterial. That's a low down thing for them, and so they're going to blast away. And as it's happening now, and a huge amounts of energy will be used, and without us really thinking about it. Probably inventions will come out without us really thinking about them. I mean, it's incredible already, isn't it, that it can tamper with truth in lots of ways. It can change, I can be speaking Portuguese in my own voice. Someone did that for me recently, and I was like I was very impressed with it.
You're like,
I had
wow.
no idea what I was saying. But
you're doing some spiritual incantation. You're like, oh.
I know. I was waiting sort of for the Arabic one. I was like, no, can we try that? But yeah, so I think it's a very exciting thing, and we not that we should fear it, but I think it will probably. I mean, I'm not a doom gloom guy, but I think it probably will create more division. It probably will speed up climate change, and it will test us more. But it will also almost certainly create incredible, great breakthroughs that are very helpful to large groups of people. Whether that's in, wherever that is and however that is. So it has different sides, but I think, it's just important for us to kind of know as much as we can about it, and then we each have to tread our own course, our own ethical course with it, I think. I don't know. Are you using it in any way? What's your view?
What's my view? I just was kind of going in a few different directions when you're talking. So at first I was, hesitant about it. And then I've, kind of seen within the business, there are a lot of different time-saving things. There's very logical reasons why we want it. I do find it interesting. I think there's this quote, and I'm going to be misquoting it, but it talks about the fact that AI is now replacing activities that are creative rather than the activities that are kind of like the ones that we want to have replaced, like doing laundry or cleaning the house or things like that. But now AI is like ChatGPT, writing articles, creating content, writing books, doing all of these things. And I think that's when it can get a little bit slippery and sticky. And I'm curious if it'll be even more potent and powerful when you have someone that's actually using the consciousness of their own as a writer. Because, just an example with your writing, it's like you can feel and hear your voice, like you're transported when you read your work. And so you can feel that from a certain level. And I'm curious if when you're using AI, you'll be able, like the AI will be able to tap into that specific consciousness and pull from that and create its own, or if we'll still as humans be able to feel like the authenticity and the truth of like a human consciousness or a human vibration through some of the work that people have. I think it'll be something where, the first years of it, the next couple years will be used for not the greatest good potentially, for like the lower vibrational experiences or things. And then eventually, hopefully we can use it for things that are more beneficial to the planet, things related to nature, things related to the health of our world, because there's so much opportunity, like recycling as an example, like the fact that we can't use it for recycling or cleaning up the oceans or things that are very, very basic and seem very simple, like as an entry point. So I guess it's probably a consciousness thing where we need to elevate to a consciousness level where we're desiring to use AI for the perspective of the global benefit to nature and
Yeah.
earth and humanity. But right now, maybe our consciousness is meeting AI at the consciousness level where it's just for greed or just for like, those lower vibrational frequencies like sex or money or, that type of thing.
Yeah. And I think you're right about creativity. That's an area where it actually isn't really needed,
Yeah.
because what's needed is for us to find our own creativity, because that's the solution to the sort of mental health problems and the anxiety that so many of us have, because creativity is just so rewarding and, for us, for our inner being, and it's what we're here for. And yeah, I'm not against, like, a friend who's writing books using it because he's dyslexic, which is wonderful. You can use it as a tool to assist you. And I think that's great. But again, it's up to each of us. I mean, there's a couple of books come out on gene keys, that were written in 5 minutes, I'm sure, on AI. And no one sort of approached me or asked me if my opinion or permission or anything
Wow.
like that. But it's like, I'm sure in like 5 years, there'll probably be hundreds.
Totally.
And and I kind of bought them and read them, and I wanted to know, but it didn't actually even say that they were until the very back page, and then it said this is written by AI. And of course they're quite good. They're quite good in the way that they make it palatable and presentable for people, and from that point of view, it's good. But yeah, in the hands of whatever frequency, I'm concerned for the creativity of humans, that we get lazy and we forget to do the basic things, working with our hands and right brain things that are really important and so good for us.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about that, because I do think that that's something that a lot of people are seeing, feeling, and experiencing. And the conversation around AI essentially is the prioritization of productivity or creativity or the creative act. Because if we are choosing to have ChatGPT write the book, it's choosing to have it done quickly rather than choosing to be in process with the creation of things. And I think people are just so desperate to do more in less time and sort of be in the mind. What would you say about that? Is there a gene key that represents sort of this happening? Where do you see us going?
I think it's really interesting because I've been looking at recently. It'll be coming out one of these days soon. I did a Gene Keys profile reading for Donald Trump, and
To him?
and I just recorded it as though he were there, as though he were
Okay,
with me.
cool.
And
He's like, love it.
and I kind of enjoyed it, and I'm going to do more. But anyway, I was looking at Elon Musk, and I thought I might do him as well. And I noticed that his life's work was about stillness. It was Gene Key 52. And the more I dove, just contemplated looking at his profile, the more I saw, the inner world, the inner being there. You just reminded me of it, because that Gene Key 52, which is the one that's about stress, the shadow is stress, but the highest aspect of it is stillness, and deep quiet, and in a way that's what you're saying. We're in a hurry and we're kind of rushing and we're trying to get to the product, and we're missing the contemplative journey, which is the healing journey, the transformation. So you can't sort of skip transformation. You can't skip the shadow, and get straight to the city, the highest aspect. So I think it's really interesting feeling into. I mean, that's what I think is so lovely about Gene Keys, is that it shows you, well, what is the highest thing I'm here to show up with, and we all kind of present whichever level or frequency we're able to, and we create that out in the environment. But if you were someone that had that 52 there, it would be like really creating a deep stability in the world, a deep sense of calm, a deep sense of inner truth and slowing down, and the opposite of speeding up. That, like, you could even say that slowing down is the new speeding up, something like that. It's like the highest frequencies can only be accessed when you slow way, way down, which is why the ancients have always meditated, and they've always gone inside, and they've closed their eyes, and they've gone into stillness. Because that's the only way we can access these heightened states of consciousness. And then we are the technology. But yeah, so I don't know if I answered your question.
No, you did.
It's kind of interesting, I guess, that
I just think you wanted to talk about
52.
Trump.
Yeah.
I think we just want to talk about Trump. But
Happy to.
Okay, wait. So what do you perceive about Trump?
Well, all the political stuff aside, just looking at his profile, some things jump out, and I kind of I'm interested in what's the heightened state of a being.
Of course.
And I will show them the shadows, and I'll say, look, here's something to watch out for. But ultimately, I'm really interested in like, what does it look like if you show up fully? And there was a lovely meme, I don't know if you've seen it, like, this is what would happen if Donald Trump took ayahuasca. I don't know if you saw that.
No.
It's somewhere circulating on the internet, and there's someone put together an AI video of President Trump taking ayahuasca and then meeting his demons and transforming it, and then becoming the best shaman in the world. This beautiful, and actually that was what when I did his reading, his profile reading, that was what I saw. I saw this incredible emanation, and he has this key 53, which people might resonate with, because the low frequency is called immaturity, and it's just simply immature behavior that isn't aware of itself, like a child, just kind of, but that, and so it's the basis, but it's the basis of expansion, which is the gift, and it's this expansion of consciousness, the expansion of love, the expansion of innocence, and really beautiful things, and the creativity and all kinds of things. And then the heightened frequency is superabundance, which is, you could see it at sort of low frequency as well. Like, superabundance might be in the hands of immaturity, would just go on creating more and more and more and more and more in an unsustainable way on the outside. Whereas superabundance is a city, so it's referring to an inner state, not an outside state. So we look, for our heightened state on the outside through the shadow frequency. We're looking for it in the environment. We think that that's what is going to fulfill us. And so it's about transforming that, expanding your awareness. And then for Donald Trump, he would find that superabundance deep inside, but it would come in the same way as, you could imagine him and Elon sitting together, and Elon in his deep stillness, and Donald in his incredible, just this waves of ecstatic, superabundant bliss, and superabundance is about being. It's being is what is superabundant. Superabundant is being itself. It's the waves of just, when you come into your highest state of consciousness, it's pure being. But we experience it as just this constant wave upon wave of the universe showering us with good fortune. Because that's the universal law of love, right, of unconditional love the universe operates off. So when we go deep within, that's when we access those heightened states. But you can see how it's played out. And so I would guide Donald and Elon to go within and find these states that they're trying to manifest on the outside, try and find them on the inside, because that's the only way that any of us are going to find a deep fulfillment. Otherwise we're always unfulfilled. We're always not happy unless we get to Mars, and then we're not happy to get to the next place, and then we're not happy, and it's an endless, exhausting quest.
Which I think, if we think about, and I don't know if it's the gene key that represents or Donald Trump that represents, but it's so representative of where we are collectively, just this
Yeah.
constant outward seeking of validation or of, acceptance or of love. And it's also the immaturity. There's so much immaturity within our culture and society. And I think, um, maybe I'm biased. I don't know. Maybe I'm biased because I think about my parents and like, that's an immature generation.
Uh,
But I think we're kind of moving on to a little bit more
hey,
maturity.
I might be one of them.
I know. I was like, not you. You're different. You're a different man. But there's this like level of immaturity that we think can be solved by materialism or by things outside of us. So it's really just such a mirror for where we are as a collective.
Yeah.
Something I wanted to talk about as it relates to sort of like the prophecy and what we're moving into, especially in 2025 through 2027, was around the solar plexus. You've been talking a little bit about the impact or sort of the relationship of the solar plexus to sort of where we're going as a culture and society. And I was thinking about that because I always think about the solar plexus as it relates to codependency and sort of our desire and connection to others and sort of defining ourselves based on other people. And I think codependency has been such a theme of what the collective is going through. I've seen it a lot through the women that I work with and through our community. I've really struggled with codependency, whether it's in my relationships or whether it's my codependency with social media or anything outside of myself. Can you talk a little bit about what you're sort of seeing in the future and how the solar plexus can relate potentially to codependency?
Yeah, I think it's a good question. I think that when we refer to the solar plexus, when I refer to it, I'm talking about anything below the diaphragm.
Mm-hmm.
So that whole area of our body, of our being, our microbiome, and in many ancient kind of cultures, um, there's all kind of mythology and energetics connected with this area of our body, whether it's the Dantian from China or the Hara from Japan. And most cultures have some kind of deep connection that the river of life comes from here, and the umbilical cord is
I
there.
was just
So
thinking that.
it got slightly co-opted by the chakra system because the chakras are sort of presented as a ladder, which is amazing, but what it does is it sort of then you have to you sort of leave it behind. So there's a sense of like, well, we leave that one behind, then we move up higher and we're sort of ascending out, as opposed to kind of descending in. So I think in a way that the solar plexus is about grounding and embodying and bringing higher frequencies down and into the body rather than escaping out into the nirvana, which is, I think, those days of that kind of spiritual conditioning is sort of slipping away a bit now, I'm happy to say. So we're not the up and out philosophy, we're the down and in. We're like, we got to bring the high frequencies into this plane. And that's, I think, why we're also at this point where we're learning so much about our microbiome, and we're learning how critical it is to longevity, to health, to balance. And we're realizing that it doesn't stop here, that there are multiple microbiomes. They're all over the place, and they actually are through the air. So we're part of a much bigger biome, and there are biomes all around us. And so the solar plexus then becomes like this incredible area of exchange of information, of genetic information, and energetic information, and so for many people, it's because I worked for many years as a body worker. I don't know if you know this, and in my early sort of 20s, and I was a body worker specializing on the belly, on all the systems in the belly, and it's where trauma is very powerfully kind of encoded, in the intestinal tract and in the organs in there. And so as you work with your hands inside others' belly or inside your own belly, you start to kind of unravel some of the trauma that's kept there. And then it opens up, your breath opens up, your diaphragm opens up, and you start to drop into the kind of umbilical breathing, these deep breaths, these deep breath patterns, the rhythmic breath patterns. Like, when if you've ever put your hand on a very young child's
The best.
And my children, I
When
used to
they're
love
so
doing
round
that.
and they're just, they puff. They're the best.
And it's like a baseball, it's like a basketball in there.
100%. Oh,
Yeah.
a
And
dream.
there's no tension yet. There's no learned trauma yet. So it's just doing this incredible, breath. The whole body is breathing.
Because then, especially as women, we learn to breathe in. You breathe the stomach in rather than breathing it out.
Exactly. Exactly. And then we fall into chest breathing, and so working with all the things that we do, and from Pilates to yogas or whatever it is, just to help bring our breath and breath work itself back down into the belly. And for me, contemplation is a perfect way, because the art of contemplation helps us to slow down, and then we tune into our breathing, and we will take deeper breaths naturally as we become a more contemplative person. So that belly then, in terms of the future consciousness, I feel like it's the place where the baby is. It's because it's where the microbiome is. It's where the mass of our DNA is. The bacterial DNA is it's all that. It's like 80% of our DNA is there in the gut, and so that's where the new consciousness is emerging, and mutations in the new consciousness are emerging in the gut biome, in the bacterial gut biome, because the bacteria are amazing, because they're sort of little mini beings of light, and they can photosynthesize light. They have, we sort of know this, like they can kind of attract photons, and they can kind of manipulate light. And so that is an area, as these mutations occur, as a predicted, at least through the Gene Keys prophecies, I think that's how it's going to operate. And I had really interesting discussions with Zach Bush about this. He has a lot to say
thinking about that.
with his medical experience, and this notion of a new awareness emerging from that place that interconnects us. And the other thing I wanted to say is, recently, I don't know if you've tuned into the telepathy tapes yet, but
I listened.
Yeah.
I just started listening last night because a friend recommended, and I'm fully locked in. So please go.
Well, they're doing the rounds, and it's this notion that there are new children coming into the world, and they've been coming into the world for some time. Originally, we called them indigo children, and we had names for them and stuff, but they've been there, and some of these mutations are taking place already in the forerunners, and we're seeing it particularly in these autistic children, where they're showing that they have a networked consciousness, and that they can read minds, and that they have extrasensory capacities and abilities, even though most of them can't speak. And so, anyway, I'd recommend those that amazing transmission through the telepathy takes for anyone who hasn't heard it. But for me, when I heard that, and also met Susie Miller recently, who appears on the tapes, and I'm going to be doing some things with her coming up. I was saying how, look, these are the children. This is where the mutation's taking hold. And it will continue to roll out in children who are being born. Not all children, because mutations don't work like that. They come in like little spring flowers, and they start popping up all over the place. And then the physical body, the old body has to adapt, and it has to integrate the new mutation. And then, so it's going to take, decades and even hundreds of years for us to fully integrate it as a species. But what it means is that new possibilities are opening up for us to experience consciousness outside our body in a networked, collective form. And that's a tough one for like the mainstream to even get its head around. But for those of us who are watching what's the real news, not the kind of news of what's decaying, but the news of what's being born, that's what we're seeing and experiencing. So it's an incredible time And I'm really excited to sort of find out more about that myself and meet some of these children. And yeah, I think we're going to be tracking them. I think we're going to be learning more about our future selves, because I think that's what's happening. So I'm it's a very exciting area.
Yeah, it's beautiful because, with autism, it like turns off specific aspects of even the codependency or the social elements that we've sort of been programmed over time to have or rely on or be over indexing on. And so it's kind of turning inward to the self and then to the networks of sort of what's going on in the collective or what's going on through the people. But there's some books I remember about these children. They were in Asia and it was in the 80s and there was groups of them. And there was this sort of experience of their connection telepathically across the world. But when we think about, the new split and the old version and the new version of this, so we can talk about, some of the children coming online. For some of the people that are living now, I can't help but include myself in this. How do we see, like, are we receiving different frequencies and codes? Are we having our gut microbiome change? Like, what would someone who's experiencing the new change or this evolution or this consciousness coming online be experiencing right now?
Well, I think, when we open ourselves up to higher frequencies, so when we do this transforming of the shadows of our trauma, that's really the only way that we can safely open up to higher frequencies. But as we do that, then I think that we are actually creating the mutation inside us. So I think it's always been that way, that people who go into deep heightened states of consciousness, experience rushes of epiphanies, and an epiphany, I talk about this in my little book on contemplation. An epiphany is a cellular transmutation experience, and so it rushes through your body and it can last quite a long time. And it's when a shadow pattern or a traumatic ancestral pattern is literally burnt from our DNA. It's expunged. It's vaporized. And so when we have those spontaneous experiences, because we're doing this inner work, that is our mutation. So we are then we're helping to create that frequency in the world, because we're impacting the collective consciousness. And also the deeper we go in our own wounding process, in our own journey into that process, as we go really deep, we start to access the collective wounding. We start to kind of use up our individual wounding, and we start to go deeper into the collective wound that we're carrying, like the trauma of our ancestry. And so that's intense work. We have to transmute that with the light that we're opening up to, the illumination. And so it then becomes like its own journey. The inner journey becomes self-illuminating, and it gathers its own momentum, because we start to be. That's why I talk about the dragonfly. Is that we start to become this other being, and so we are. But we're even in an older style body. And there may be limitations to that, but the bliss is not limited. But we may still die in the same, So, but what I'm looking at in the future human, everything could be different. We might live much longer, in order that we can house this higher consciousness. So it's designed. The new human is designed to house higher consciousness, whereas we're a little bit old-fashioned, these ones. But that doesn't mean we can't optimize them, And I think we can. I think we really can, and I think we can stretch them in new ways, and create new forms of harmonics. And I think that can be even more empowered when we're around these future children. When we're actually physically in their presence, and we're in a higher presence together. Even us soul groups, in those higher frequencies, that's what also creates potential for kind of wormholes to open up, and all kind, miracles, the miraculous. I'm always tracking the miraculous.
How do you view miracles? Like, what is I'm a Course in Miracles girl through and through. How do you view and experience miracles?
Yeah, I mean, I'm writing this book at the moment. It's called The Sage, and it's my sort of I Ching of all the Gene Keys, and it's taking me. I've been writing it for about 4 years.
So you got to get ChatGPT, Richard. Got to you want to get this done today.
I can do it in 5 minutes, but I'm doing one a day.
Today's your chance.
Yeah. Anyway, there's one there's one of them. There's 384 of them. There are little bits of poetry as well that come to me.
Of course.
There's one called "Miracles Are Gritty," and miracles. So for me, miracles are not wafty. They are like intense, like the preparation that we have to undergo in order to either witness or embody or be around or catalyze a miracle. It's intense. The purification that we have to go through, and I don't mean sort of like purification in the sense of like austerities. I mean really embracing what life brings us on a daily basis. Really just listening and trusting in the universal codes of our destiny and doing the work, the transmutational work. That's what opens us up to miracles. And sometimes they come, I don't know, I had this feeling once, like I had this memory of like a sort of super miracle happening. I think it was from another realm. And it came to me and it was like thunder. It was like, it's like I heard the thunder in the distance. And then it gathered and it became strong. You know how thunder, sometimes a thunderstorm comes closer and closer and closer. And as a child, I'm still doing it. Like you count the distance between the flashes and the thunder because you want to know whether it's going, coming closer. And that was how I experienced a miracle occurring, is that it came closer. I could feel it resonating and coming closer and closer and closer. And then when it came, it just shook the very ground of reality. And you were swept up in it, and I couldn't even say what that specific miracle was, but it just swept you into its embrace. And anyone who was anywhere near was like, just as the thunderclap does, it just blasts everyone open. Anyway, so that was my experience. But I think they're pretty gritty.
Yeah, it's interesting in Law of One, which is one of my favorite texts. They talk about how collectively we could all positively polarize if we all had one moment of like our conscious awareness positively polarizing or choosing to polarize. It's almost like that miracle moment of that expansion that you talk about. In A Course in Miracles, it talks about miracles just being a correction for what is already like in existence, and miracles are natural. So it's kind of like the other side of it. But I think it's interesting because a miracle, I think what you're talking about that I align with is that you almost have to set up your consciousness or your sight to see the miracle when it comes and to be able to witness the miracle when it arises. But most people are living in such distraction or sleep or, despair that they're not able to attune to what a miracle would be or what a miracle would be experienced. And I think a lot of people perceive a miracle to be things other than, or maybe this is my perception. The simplicity of miracles, I think, is brought online when you realize how perfect everything is. And you're like, wow, like a dragonfly's a miracle. You know what I mean? Like sometimes like there's like this range of like what could be considered a miracle.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like, it's those cities in the Gene Keys.
Yeah.
You actually have those heightened states of consciousness. Every single one of them is in the miracle field. But some of them are quite, like I said, they're quite gritty. They're quite just like compassion is a miracle, where you feel the suffering of another passing through you and you take it on with such love and acceptance. That's a miracle. Forgiveness is a miracle.
Yeah.
For someone to truly forgive, it's like that's extraordinary. Something really terrible that was done to them, or even to forgive ourselves is a miracle. There's so many everyday miracles, as you said, like just when we notice the perfection or we become part of the perfection, then we become part of the miracle field. And in my I've got this new teaching. Actually, I was talking to you about the star pearl, and in that, what we do is we create the field so that there's a harmonic so that a miracle can occur in the middle of it. It's a bit like my little fun course. I don't know if you did that, the 7 Days of Grace. It's a free course. It's really popular. Anyone who want to go and find it, it's online, 7 Days of Grace. And it's a 7-day little free course that's designed to give you an experience of grace. And so you do these very simple little things for 7 days, and then you wait until until a little mini miracle happens. Or it might be something quite big, but it happens in spite of you, just because you're doing these little practices. So for me, it's about creating the conditions, as you said, so that a miracle can kind of happen in the middle. Yeah.
I love that. I want to double click, underline, clip it. I think that is so beautiful, because I think people want to experience miracles, be in the field of miracles. I think that's one of the things I talk about that people are often most excited about, because I think it also is kind of the mind candy of having the opportunity of change in an instant. You know what I mean? Where you're like, wow, I get to have change in a second through this miracle. But it is like, how can we create conditions where miracles can come or miracles be birthed? I want to go a little bit down this cul-de-sac before we go back to Star Pearl and the prophecy. You mentioned the compassion and that being a miracle. And I know that's the city of one of the gene keys. The reason why I'm asking is because so many women that are listening are deeply empathetic and they're deep feelers, and they actually have spent a lot of their time taking on the feelings and experiences of others at the detriment to their own path and purpose. Can you talk about how we can use compassion in its highest, and how we can move through the codependency or move through the ways that women, and especially are in a state where they're out of their power because they're so focused on others in a way that I think we're perceiving as compassion, but maybe isn't?
Yeah, I know what you mean. These words have nuance as well, don't they? So when I use the word compassion, it's, I can't put it into a nice chat GBT kind of quote for you.
Yeah, totally.
It's,
I'm like Richard Rudd talking about nuance. What do you mean?
yeah,
I'm like, this is a man of nuance.
but it isn't. But I know exactly what you're saying.
I know.
It isn't. It's a balance, right? So compassion can be fierce. It can be fierce and fearsome, and it can be soft as butter. And delicate. And so but it's based on it's based on self-love, and it's based on deep attunement to a universal kind of pattern. So it's about the surrender of the individual self into the universal self. And then the universal self is allowed and is trusted to such a level that compassion is always the action that emerges. And it can be, there's loads of stories from the Zen traditions and things about, compassion coming out as ferocity. And you see all these, in the ancient, in those lovely Buddhist and Tibetan Buddhist tankas and things, you see all the angry Buddhas, and it's like those fearsome warrior Buddhas. And those are also the faces of compassion, because they're about boundary setting, and so part of self-love is about learning where you can where your need to help another or to serve another or to love another has to kind of occasionally meet a boundary inside yourself that just says no, because otherwise you are completely being taken advantage of, and you're allowing yourself to be taken advantage of, or you're allowing yourself to be a victim, even though it is through a good cause, it's through love. But that's a wonderful part of the journey towards compassion, is when we reclaim that, we reclaim that boundary, and sometimes a no that is said with love is the same as a yes. In fact, it's even better than a yes, a true yes. But it has a yes in it, because you're saying yes to love, to self-love. And that means that you're kind of saying no to a behavior or a pattern that is coming at you from the outside that you've been agreeing to. And so in a way, that's an amazing learning when a woman or a man learns that skill. But I agree, it happens a lot, probably more, it's more prevalent in women. But when I've seen women, who I know and love reclaim that for themselves in their relationships, for example, it's like, it's such a powerful moment for them and for the other, because the moment you say no, you've kind of cut your codependent tie, and then they're on their own. Like they have to, you cannot control how they handle that. It may create a transformation in them that might change the relationship, for the better. You might have a rebirth in the whole relationship because you've done that, and sometimes it's about saying, I need to leave you, or it could be, I'm leaving, right? And sometimes that statement alone opens up the conversation that never was happening. And then a transformation can occur. But that doesn't always happen. It's not in our control, because that's where you see the soul evolution of each person. And if one is not ready to move as you're ready to move, then you can't do anything about it. There's a parting. And it can be a sweet parting, or it can be a not so sweet parting, but it's a parting. And that has to be accepted. And that's part of the learning of compassion as well. Because compassion also has to hold sadness, and it has to hold, but it never loses hope, because you're able to kind of process that sadness and then open yourself up to, well, what's next, So I don't know if that
No, that was
helps.
stunning. That was stunning. That was a stunning example and explanation, and a perfect way for women to think about how they can be compassionate to themselves and then also compassionate to others. And I really loved what you said about the no being sometimes even more loving. And I sound like someone that just discovered boundaries when I say that, when I'm like, I love this so much, but it's true. It's just when I've found that I've been able to be in my true yes or true no, I'm able to be in my truth in a way, in a relationship that I've never been able to experience. And then people are able to be in true relationship with me, and I'm able to be in true relationship with them. And I just think that was just stunning and so powerful. I'm so grateful that you were able to share that and kind of expound upon that for me and for our audience. I want to, this is, a step next to that too. So when we think about kind of the new and old versions and the new and old humans that are coming online too, I think about, and this is maybe my codependency again, but maybe I think about are we leaving others behind? If we are part of the new human, or we are part of the new consciousness that is coming online, that is stepping forward into our gifts, that is stepping forward into the new earth, what do you see those that are left behind, or those that are not committing to their growth and their path? What do you see happening?
I think it's a forking of the paths. It's like a genetic fork, it's an energetic fork, and down this path are huge opportunities. This new path, like massive growth, is spiritual growth. And all kinds of beautiful harvests waiting for us, and because we have that freedom, we have the freedom to say no. I'm not. I don't want to do that. I'm not going down there. And I think what that means is that we're going to see for decades and probably hundreds of years, two types of human. One which is leaving, so that's literally genetic material that's leaving the genome. It's being erased. It won't be brought back in. So when that person dies, that lineage, that DNA will go with them. And that doesn't mean, if the soul inside there doesn't, it doesn't mean they didn't have another, reality, and then they move on wherever they move on. But here, it requires a wholehearted yes, from those who want to kind of embrace the new. So I think we're going to see very interesting. We're beginning to see it already. I think we're seeing old forces rising up and kind of having their death throes. It's like the fall of the Roman Empire. Towards the end of the empire, which was thousands of years, towards the end, you get these extraordinary kind of weird leaders that came up, like Caligula and Nero, and like really strange old. It's the old material leaving, the old genetic material is leaving the gene pool. And I'm not saying that's anyone in particular. I'm just saying we're seeing it as a pattern, as a whole, that there are old behaviors that are leaving, and they like to have their last show, and everyone has the opportunity to kind of awaken, but yeah, we're going to see two different types of humans, as has happened before. We had Neanderthal living alongside Cro-Magnon for possibly hundreds of thousands of years. I don't think that's going to be the case this time, but it's interesting, isn't it, that and as a new species, as a new fork of the species emerges, those two species get to live together and learn from each other, actually. But also there could be chaos there as well. So I think it's an interesting period coming.
For sure.
February is the month of love, baby. It's really the perfect time to show yourself a little love. Let's be real. And then that trickles out to everything. So I don't know who out there, but I know it's a lot of you. You might be getting a little coffee in the afternoon, okay? And then you get the jitters, or maybe you have like a huge cup or a couple cups in the morning. You like have jitters in the afternoon. Yo, let's give our body something better. I don't know about you, but I've been noticing by like 3 p.m. I'm yawning in middle of like a Zoom meeting, and I'm like, holy moly, let me turn my video off. So this February, give yourself the gift of self-care with Mudwater. Mudwater is the perfect way to show your body some love without all the caffeine chaos. It's this super warm, nourishing drink packed with cacao, chai, turmeric, and adaptogenic mushrooms that will keep you cozy all winter long into that early spring. It's still kind of cool. Really helps me stay focused without that crash or feeling like you're running on empty. I just don't love that coffee buzz, jittery feeling. It's smooth, it's steady, and a perfect way to give myself that like clean, calm energy boost without the roller coaster. So, and if you're a matcha lover, wanted to mention this, their matcha starter kit is phenomenal. I'm pretty picky about matcha, but this is the perfect way to step into clean energy with matcha's calming focus boost. One sip and you'll feel like you're just dancing barefoot on the grass. It's really that good. Okay, so are you ready to make the switch to cleaner energy? Head to mudwater.com. That's mudwtr.com and grab your starter kit today. Right now, our listeners get an exclusive deal up to 43% off your entire order, plus free shipping and a free rechargeable frother. You need that when you use the code almost30. That's right, up to 43% off with code almost30 at mudwtr.com. After you purchase, they'll ask you how you found them. Please show your support and let them know that we sent you. Keep your energy natural and refreshing all year long with Mudwater, because life's too short for anything less than clean, delicious energy. Okay, I think one of my number one on-the-go snacks is beef sticks, turkey sticks. I am just a meat stick kind of gal. And I always, always, always get them from Paleo Valley. They have incredible sticks. I'm going to talk about the turkey sticks because I've been loving them. They're pasture raised turkey sticks, 100% pasture raised. So they actually live on the pasture and are never given hormones or antibiotics. And they use old world methods of fermenting the sticks so they are shelf stable without the use of chemicals or questionable ingredients. This is what I love about Paleo Valley. They do not cut corners. They care about the quality of the food, they care about the taste, and they also care about the ingredients, and they care about the process and the animals that are potentially involved. So I just respect them so much. We've recently had the founder, Autumn, on the podcast. It was a phenomenal, interesting, thought-provoking conversation I think you're going to love. But anyway, these sticks are fantastic. So this is a great healthy snack on the go, great for kids. It's really convenient. It's a great source of vitamins E, C, and D. It's a great source of protein. So I'm really excited to share those with you. I also really, really love their apple cider vinegar complex. So this is one of the most powerful natural solutions out there with a vast array of health benefits. I'm sure you've heard the benefits of ACV, but this comes in a capsule form. So it's awesome. It helps stabilize your blood sugar, reduce cravings, promote weight loss, improve protein absorption and digestion, and it can even help stop heartburn symptoms. So this is an organic blend blend of apple cider vinegar, and it also includes organic lemon, organic Ceylon cinnamon, organic ginger, and organic turmeric. Really, really powerful, so effective. So I just wanted to shout out some of my favorites right now from Paleo Valley. Head to paleovalley.com/almost30 for 15% off your order. That's paleovalley.com/almost30 for 15% off your order.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts? I guess I have two things. Let's go. I want to continue on the chaos path because I think, and my second question is about animals that we can go into later, but because I'm always thinking about the animals. But for a lot of people are perceiving that there is a lot of chaos. There is a lot happening, and it's interesting because this year I was tuning into the energy at the beginning, and I was like, "Oh, cool, this is going to be a great year." And then a few weeks in, I was like, "Oh, wow, I didn't realize it would be so chaos energy, and it would be so much change and transformation." And I didn't see it coming as much. I see it now, but I didn't see it coming as much. And it feels like a 2020 year almost. So what are you seeing in 2025? Like, what is kind of your prediction besides chaos and sort of the old systems crumbling?
Well, in the Gene Keys world and the mapping of like patterns, it's and also in this for astrologers, it's with Pluto's moving into Aquarius, and then Gene Keys, that's Pluto moving into Gene Key 41. That's an incredible moment, always, because it engages a completely new pattern, a new paradigm that doesn't happen for 250 years. So it's incredible to be alive now as that's happening. Maybe even today or tomorrow, I think it is. It's very soon. It's kind of, it's the germ of the seed of a completely new consciousness, a new cycle that's coming into the world. And so, yeah, it's a really precious moment right now. And I think what we're going to see, and I really hope people understand this, is that we're going to see an old way crumbling and a new shoot emerging in its midst. And it's really up to us where we put our focus. If we are focusing on the old crumbling, we're going to be caught up in the wind of that chaos. We're going to be worried. We're going to feel the fear. We're going to be like, horrified, shocked. There's going to be chaos. Nothing is certain, and whereas if we focus on the new, on the inner, on these new shoots emerging, then we're putting our consciousness, we're aligning it. This is what Gene Key 41 is called, the anticipation, the gift of anticipation. We're aligning with the new emanation. We're aligning with this new energy, this new being that's coming into the world, and we will be filled with the enthusiasm and the powers of that new being, as opposed to overly worrying. I'm not saying we shouldn't be worried, by the way, but overly worrying or overly kind of fixated on, the state of the world as on the outside. It's a universal law, right? In order for something new to be born on the inside, something old has to die on the outside. So it's the phoenix. It's why, this in human design was called the cross of the sleeping phoenix that we're moving into. So, the phoenix emerges from the ashes of the old world. And it's actually a really beautiful time to be alive. It's a really exquisite.
It's the best.
But you got to pay attention over here and not get distracted over here.
100%. It's the best, but catch me on a different day and I'm like, this is too much.
I know.
Do you feel like with sort of, I guess, in prophecy in general and then where we're going, do you feel like it's already set and we're kind of just moving towards it? Or do you feel like we're co-creating the future reality in every moment?
Yeah, but so people have asked me that question before, and the answer is yeah, it's like a double answer. Both are true.
I don't want to be asking the same question as other people.
No. It's not that. You've answered it. You've asked it in a different way.
Cool.
It's like that key I was talking about, Gene Key 41. And its highest word is called emanation. And emanation is a lovely word, and it's there's a doctrine of emanation that came from the Kabbalistic teachings, and it's the notion that the spiritual reality has already occurred, but it just we haven't kind of remembered it fully yet. So in other words, the truth is coming from the future towards the past, right? And it meets us, and so we meet it, and in every moment we meet the future arriving, but it's already done its job. It's already got to the end, and the lights have been out and everyone's gone home. so it's done. At the same time, when we're in the show, because you've got involution, that's the involutionary current, and the other side is the evolutionary current. And when you're in the theater and in the drama and in the form and in one of these, you don't remember fully the details. The script is like, we don't have the script. You might, if you're lucky, remember the kind of broad brushstrokes of what's going to happen. That there's a happy ending involved, right? That there's a happy ending involved. I mean, that was what I experienced, kind of many years ago. I just had this cellular kind of knowing of the return of the happy ending, and and I was just like, oh my God, we're all going to be fine.
I had
and
that
I've carried that ever since.
March of 2020. I had this like vision. It was before everything kind of went down. It was like, oh yeah, this is why we're here. This is what we're doing. It was just the craziest vision and experience of like why I'm here, why we're here. This is what's happening. This is the moment. Like this is the thing. Which obviously the ego loves that too, where we're like, yeah, this is why we're here. But it was just like a truth of knowing that it is all okay. And that was like also Christ, Christ coming is then remembering and knowing that it's all okay.
Exactly. I think anyone that's had one of those big epiphanies, or perhaps they might have had it through plant medicine or something, they have that real like deep revelation of the perfection of all being.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh my God, we're just held in this embrace and this drama is unfolding. And all we have to do is be as impeccable as we can within ourself, be authentic to ourself, even if it means making all kinds of mistakes. At some level, we're learning from all those mistakes, and eventually we're going to be, that deep, compassionate being that we'll grow into. So for me, it's both of those are true. So we both know where we're going, but at the same time, we don't know how we're going to get there, and we don't necessarily know the timing. But that's part of the attunement to miracles, isn't it? Like, if we knew, there wouldn't be miracles.
Yeah. And also, I've been really sitting with just faith and the word faith, because it's like you can have faith on the outside, a belief, but it's like, no, it really is the belief in the unseen. It's like the co-creation in every moment of what you believe to be true and what you believe to have faith. Something you've mentioned quite a bit that I think is going to be supportive of anyone in this process is contemplation. And I want to talk about the importance of contemplation as someone that probably needs to spend more time in contemplation and explore it more. But it's one of those things that I think is a dire prescription for sort of what we're going through. So I'd love for you to talk a little bit about contemplation.
Yeah, I love contemplation. I mean, it's just a lovely word, isn't it? It's a slow word. It doesn't, it might begin with some thinking, but it doesn't, it carries on. It goes deeper and deeper into us. It's a way of attuning to our inner world and to the inner world of everything. And so the more we give ourselves time to pause, pausing is the secret of contemplation, the more we come into that breath rhythm we talked about, like that child's breath rhythm. And so the more we're pausing and the more we're kind of creating that space for the magical, for the aesthetic, for the beautiful, so, like I love tea, for example, Chinese tea. I do, I have really, I don't know if you know that about me, but I kind of have these beautiful
I do,
teas.
and I could guess it too.
Yeah.
That he's a
So
tea
these
guy.
beautiful tea ceremonies and things that I do, but I don't do them in a traditional form. I just pick that up as an aesthetic thing that I love, and I do it every morning. And it's a symbol for curating a beautiful inner space where you notice beauty, right? And the beauty is because you've kind of come to a calm place inside yourself, And then whatever is going on around you. So I do it. I live in the UK, and it's, most of the winter is just pretty, for most people, it's really a struggle. Deep winter, like now, January, February, it's like people really get depressed, because you can get these long grey days that go on day after day after day. And then it's damp and it's wet, and people find that hard. And for me, like, I love it because I see the nuances of like all the shades of the colors, and that every day it's changing. Every day is like subtly different. But unless you're really paying attention, all you see is gray. But if you're really paying attention, you see like a miraculous little changes and shifts in details of sounds and the way birds move and the way that, things happen. So I sit outside in the morning before dawn, and I listen and I watch, and sometimes the stars are there, or sometimes it's raining, and sometimes the wind is howling, and sometimes it's completely quiet, and sometimes, it's always different. It's always completely unique. And so creating a contemplative space inside yourself, however you do it, is a beautiful thing to do. And so many of the people listening to this, you're already doing it in lots of different ways. Maybe it's in your yoga, maybe it's in your swimming that you do, maybe it's in, it's a ritual that takes you into your inner world. Any ritual that brings you into your inner self is a contemplative thing, and those are precious things. If we can build them into rhythmic customs in our everyday lives, we start to really hum, things start to just kind of synchronize around us, because we're creating that kind of those conditions for good fortune, because we're slowing down inwardly, and we're noticing things, and we're attuned to things, and we pick up on things, and we're listening to the field. We're listening to, so like, you pick up on when someone around you is in pain, for example, and you might not have realized that otherwise, because you were busy with your own thoughts or worrying, and so you pick up on all kinds of things, and you become very empathetic, and it's contemplation is so powerful. I did this silly thing the other day. I just said it was like a video meme, and I thought I'm going to do one of those memes that gets people's attention, and it was like how to be more powerful than a president. Of course it was aimed at a certain person, but it was like, it's contemplation. Like, if you are contemplating, you are creating like vortices all around you for good fortune. You're just like activating this field of like love. And I don't know, I mean, it's I get to a place where it's almost hard. It's so simple. It's almost hard to actually explain.
I don't. You don't got to tell me about that. I completely.
Yeah.
That's why we're here. Explaining it for 10 minutes. So I'm curious what you feel about this, and I don't know if people can relate. So contemplation is something that I do and enjoy. I find that it's almost like, so your ritual of your morning, as an example, going outside in nature. What would happen to me, and this could be a story, would be that I would create that ritual, but because I'd be doing it repeatedly, it would create an unconscious response in myself, where I would then be unconscious. I'd then be going out and sitting on the porch, and then my mind and my ego would really be like having its dance and be like, oh, I'm contemplating, but I'm not. And it's like the first time I do something on the porch, I'm like, wow, the birds and the grasshoppers, and I'm very present, but then the repetition causes me to lose my consciousness. What do you think about that?
Well, can you find a changing one?
That's
are
a
you
good one.
like more like flowy and changing?
Yeah, I think it's like, because when I travel, I'm just so dialed and I'm just so in, and I would like to find
it shouldn't
more
be
flow.
something that you're right. It should never be something that you don't really want to do.
I know, that's true. I don't want to punish.
It's got to be something that just emerges like this morning. My contemplation is going to be sitting with my daughter, or playing with my dog, or your contemplation can be anything.
That's true.
I'm going to go for a walk today. I'm going to go to the cafe and write a poem. I'm going to, it's like your contemplation can be anything. I mean, that's why I really love contemplation. It's very creative. It's very playful. It can be anything. It can change all the time. Yeah. So it shouldn't be a fixed thing. I just use that example because that's that is a rhythm that I do and I enjoy. And I have seemed to have done it for a long time, and it's always different.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not everyone's way.
Mm-hmm.
You have to find your spontaneous way.
I think it's, the level, if I was to make levels to it. But it's like if you are attuning to the colors, the leaves, the temperature, the birds, all of that. But I do think animals and nature is just such a great entry point to contemplation. And I'm so grateful for having animals in my life to be able to provide me with that presence and attunement and reminder of what's here and reminder of reality. This is kind of a random question, but I get to do this podcast for myself too. So when we think about, the changes in the human of what's going on, what kind of changes are happening with animals or other sentient beings as we evolve so much as humans?
Ooh, that's such a good question. I don't really know the answer to that.
Cool.
I mean, I think we're going to have to wait and see.
Yeah.
Because as we shift, everything shifts. I mean, it's not just we shifting, everything is shifting, and we're part of that shift. And my understanding is that in order for one species on one planet to shift, everything in the entire universe has to shift. Everything. Because everything's entangled, so nothing escapes the shift if there's a shift coming.
Mm-hmm.
And I think animals are caught in that shift as well. I mean, when I went to the Medicine Festival last year, and Zach Bush and I did this thing on the stage, and I told this story of the Final Father. I call it the Final Father, and it's this lovely story of meditation and the end of it. I'll do it for YouTube one of these days.
Love that.
And the end of it is the Final Father is like, he's the last human. Like the mother was there at the beginning, the primordial mother, and the father is there at the end, and he's the last human, and all the processes of letting go are taking place in his body, and all the memories of all humans since the beginning of time are resolving themselves. All the pain is being resolved. All the memory, all the lost mothers are finding their children. All the kind of difficult memories are just reconfiguring. All the souls are kind of coming into perfect resonance inside him because he's the last one. And then it's done, and then there's this process of sort of him ascending, and then there's a sort of laughter, and then Gaia kind of starts to laugh, and in a way I see at that point that Gaia is then the animals again. It's the animals and the creatures. It's like, and then the next mutation or the next, the next kind of emanation will emerge through the animal kingdom, through the creatures. And so in this particular epoch that we've sort of finished with the Final Father, it was the ape. The ape was the animal where it began. And in the next evolution or epoch, it might be another creature completely. It might be an octopus. It could be anything. And so it's like as humans, when we're done here, then I think the animal soul will kind of have its own, journey. I think it has already. I think part of it might come with us as well. I think, I feel that around my dogs. Do you have dogs?
I have cats.
Cats.
I know you have both, but I want dogs.
I have dogs and cats, so they're like,
you got the whole thing.
I'm in that kind of madness of dogs and cats living together. So it's really funny.
They're two totally different types of consciousnesses.
Mars
for sure.
and Venus. Totally.
Mars and Venus. I think my idea, I think cats are seated alien creatures that are here on Earth. And I truly think they're just monitoring and sending back information to their home planet. I think my cats are off planet most of the time.
Yeah. I mean, it's like cats are so clearly like, I don't know, they are that, aren't they? They sort of, they're in charge as well. Like, it's so clear they're in charge. The dogs are just, dogs.
The best. They're just dogs. I want to talk a little bit about the Star Pearl sequence and sort of the inspiration for that. Like, did you see that coming? Like, what can people expect that are obviously, our audience are huge fans of yours, but so what can they expect when we think about that?
Well, it's a really cool thing. It's the sort of most ambitious program I've ever done. It has the best tech of anything we've ever done so far. It's the most intricate. It's the most powerful. It's the longest program. I say you want to give it 9 months to gestate inside you. I call it the harmonics of the future human. It's about creating. We talked about it during this podcast perfectly. We've encapsulated it. It's like creating the conditions for the future human to kind of be born inside you. And so you have to do that through harmonics. It's musical in that sense. So it begins with a self-assessment that's a really powerful process. It takes about 40 minutes, and the self-assessment asks you lots of questions about your life. And there's a slider between 1 and 100, and there are sentences of which we call high harmonics, mid harmonics, and low harmonics. And whichever one feels the closest, you put the slider sort of wherever you feel it belongs. It might be sort of 35 if it's sort of between the low and the mid, and it's very intuitive and quite a powerful thing. And you might be asking a very specific question about your relationships or something, and boundaries, for example. And so you ask all these different questions, and then you're giving yourself these scores that are then amalgamated and into these different spheres of the matrix through the template of the gene keys. And so what you're basically doing is you are, without realizing it, choosing a path, a sequence through the gene keys, of this star, of these pearls. And there's 3 new keys that are coming in through the planet Uranus and Mercury and Saturn in this sequence. And people haven't seen those before if they've been working with gene keys. And so, it becomes like a completely different new matrix. And then you'll be given one. I look forward to when you do this, Krista. Like, you'll be given one of 20, what we call them action triangles, and they're made of the 4 lowest scores you've given yourself. And then there are gene keys that live in those 3 places in that triangle. And a triangle will have names. They're really quite cool names, like Passionate Impact, or mine's called Fortune of Your Fathers, the one I'm working on right now. Or my sister this morning, I talked to her, I said, have you done it? What did you get? And she said, oh, mine's called Leading the Charge.
Wow.
And she's the head of a big business in London, and doing all kinds of female empowerment work and stuff. And so anyway, it's like she's leading the charge. And it's really powerful, because then you begin the process of working with these keys and working with the triangle and working with the sequence, and it's very specific to you, and you're then given all the things you need. And there's quite a powerful workbook that you can use to work through it in your everyday life. And the idea is that it's not just an inner work, it's also an outer work. So you're invited to come up with plans, action plans, that over the period of, as you're contemplating over weeks and months, you start to make changes on the outside of your life as well.
How about that, Richard? People
Yeah.
making change on the outside. What do you mean? Applying their learnings to life.
I know.
Hey,
what can you say?
Hey, everything you said today, how about we apply what we know? And that is what I think a message I got through for a lot of my community is that they've been doing a lot of the work. They've been really going internal. They've been really doing a lot of the excavation and understanding their shadows. And now it's time to double down on the gifts, and it's time to actually implement this in our lives in a way that can be really joyful and fun. And that's obviously one of the most beautiful aspects of your field for me, and what you do is bringing that aspect of play and curiosity and joy into everything. So I'm really excited about this.
Yeah, it's really playful and very practical. It's like it'll nail you, where you're not looking, right?
That's interesting.
And so if you're doing all this great spiritual work, for example, and yet you've overlooked your bank balance, you're sort of like, I'm doing this great, I'm still blissed out. It'll get you there, and it'll go, here's the area where you're weakest. This is where you're going to focus. You're going to actually do some things that change that. You're going to change it on the inside by seeing it and admitting it. And then you're actually going to do some things that change it. And it could be the other way around as well. So it's like, it's wherever you need more harmony, that's where you will find yourself going. And then you do it again, you do a second self-assessment and you see how your scores may have changed, and the tech kind of starts to draw a map for you of your process. So it's really cool because you can track your own process and you can see what's shifting in your life. But you actually see it. You see it on the app, but you also see it in your life, obviously. And there's a spectrum, like in Gene Keys, there's this spectrum of consciousness. It's a much more this is laid out in like different bands with different colors, and so you can see which part of the spectrum your whole life is actually living in. And then you can think, wow, so like you might be 62, which would be a certain band, citrine, let's say it is. They've got nice names. And then how do you get to 70? What is needed in your life to shift you from 62 to 70? And there's going to be some actions, and there's going to be some change and some transformation. There's going to be a little bit of shadow that you have to look at, probably. And your life is also going to tell you these things because you're going to be contemplating it. So it's going to come up and show you itself. And so it's just it's a much more nuanced way of working with the Gene Keys.
I mean, that competitive element of being able to see my score and improve my score. I mean,
it does work on that self.
Because I'm always like, I'm going to be the highest level. I'm 99.
Well, there's a funny thing built in. Like if you get above 70, it starts to test you. It says, "Are you sure?"
Yeah, that's true. It's like, are you lying?
Here's a list of spiritual ego things.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it takes you to the spiritual ego lesson of it, where you're like,
just a checklist. Just make sure.
Honestly, it's like
I do say, if you get above 80, your job's done. Forget it. You don't need any more tools ever of any sort. Yeah.
What are you?
You're there.
What number are you? What number is the
me? No one's been cheeky enough to ask me that yet.
This is why I'm here. Are you going to tell? Are you going to reveal? This is the tea.
I can't not.
Okay.
I'm,
you're 88.
No, I'm in the low 70s, which is actually pretty high.
Embarrassing. High?
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's pretty high.
No, that's okay. Then I'm going to be 50.
But the thing is that there's more. As you go higher up, it becomes harder to go higher.
That's a good one.
Do you know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah. As a highly spiritually ego,
and it's not really
person.
high. It's more harmony.
Yeah.
So it's not like you're going high. You're creating more harmony. So I have some work to do.
Okay. I'll keep in posted on that. What'd be cool is like seeing in the back end, now that you are getting all this data, it's like, I'm curious if there's certain places in the world where because people are tuned into specific consciousness, like where they have specific things that they're working on collectively, if there's groups of people that kind of are tuning into different things, because then collectively, if people are doing this work, they could support one another in like the improvement of things. But yeah, the data element's going to be so cool.
Well, it is interesting. And we can actually, we have the data, anyone can not submit their data if they don't want to, but it's anonymous. But so what we're looking at is we'll be looking at like several thousand people going through a 9-month process together, and we can track the collective data. So you can actually see a line that should be climbing, and let's hope if the program works, it should be climbing. It might be doing some ups and downs, but it should be climbing over those 9 months. So you should have several thousand people whose lives are becoming more harmonious but each of them are working in very different ways. And so we've also created forums so that if you're working in the triangle of passionate impact, you can connect in that forum of passionate impact with other people also working with that triangle, with those energies. But they'll have different gene keys, but they'll be in the same triangle.
Wow.
So it'll be really interesting to see how we can support each other, as you said. Yeah.
Wow. This is
kind of fun.
It's amazing. I can't wait. I'm going to join. Maybe I'll meet my soulmate in my group. We have,
Oh,
he
that
could be
would
in
be so
my,
sweet.
he could be in my group.
I wish that for you.
I know, same. Same. I wish that if that's for the highest and greatest good of all, if that's part of the plan,
Exactly.
we wish that. This has been always so much fun. I'm looking forward to our next one, to when we see each other in person. I'm really excited to do this. I'm so grateful for you and your work. You're just one of the greats, one of the great
Oh,
teachers
thank
for
you,
all the
Krista.
people that I know and love and respect. And I'm just so grateful to be alive at the same time as you and be able to connect with
Oh,
you. And yeah, I just adore you.
thank you, Krista. I adore you too. You're such a sweetheart. You really, really are.
I'm a sweetie Bubby.
You're doing amazing work, and everyone that's listening, I know they feel the same.
I love them. And
Otherwise, they wouldn't be listening.
yeah, I mean, they're, obviously huge fans of you. So we'll make sure to have all the information for everything in the show notes. They can join in and they can get started, and I'll be in. I was already sold, and I was talking to a friend about it this morning, but I'm going to definitely do it because it's time. This is
And
my year.
write and tell me your action triangle, will
Okay,
you?
cool.
I'd love to know.
Guess what?
Yeah.
Can you guess?
Oh no, I can't possibly guess.
Okay.
How there's 20 of them, and I don't know enough about your life.
Okay.
Intuitively, I don't know.
Okay.
It's a very difficult thing to do, to guess that.
It is. I'm excited to
Yeah.
see too, because
Yeah.
I have some ideas. But one thing that you said earlier that I wrote down that I really love is people that are like both. This work is both playful and practical. I love that. I'm like, that's a
Yeah.
goal of my life, to be playful and practical.
I think you are.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, I'm sending you a lot of love. I appreciate you sending a lot of love to our audience, and I'll talk to you guys soon.
Thank you.
I'll see you. Bye. Thank you so much, Richard. Love you so deeply. Richard Rudd for Almost 30 Podcasts of the Gene Keys. Make sure to get the book pre-ordered so you can come to camp and join thousands of others all across the world as we raise consciousness. Get that Saturn Return Guide, which is 70 pages of goodness that speaks to you directly about the changes you experience in your Saturn return. And we think you will love it.
We'll see you on the next one.
Bye.
Bye.